Here we go. That looks good.
Picture this.
Hold on.
He's everything you want in a man and more. It's your third date. He's walked you.
Okay. We're just going to go over the golden ratio, okay, everybody? Because you'll see that in Diebenkorn's work and many other artists' work. You can even use it on your own work to check things out. You're probably doing it and you didn't even know.
Hi, Ian Roberts and Mastering Composition. So this week we have two videos. We have first the one on the rule of thirds and the golden ratio. And then I've got a long form demonstration, palette, mixing, panel, and voiceover at the end of this one. And I'm going to be painting this image. So next.
By the way, you notice where the central focal point is up in the upper third. So the rule of third works very much like the golden ratio, but you'll see.
Week I'm going to do a studio tour because so many people are asking me what kind of brushes, what kind of paint. I just thought I should just lay it out and explain it all to you sort of inside the studio, materials and techniques. So we'll do that next week. But first, let's do the rule of thirds and golden ratio. And it's a big topic in a way. And I'm going to try to condense it down into, say, around 6 minutes. But primarily what I want to talk about is my experience with them. Because I don't want to talk about the theory, because that's going to be confusing. Like, okay, but how do I implement that theory? So what I'm going to show you is there's the theory. And after 40 years of experience, this is how I interact with that practically in my own experience. And I think, I'm showing you how I use them. Not that that's quite right or wrong, just how I have assimilated that so that I can make use of it. And I'm sure some part of that will be helpful in sort of understanding how you're going to use it. So it's just really one artist's use of these two ideas for creating structure. So let's have a look. So let's start with the golden ratio. And this is going to look a little like algebra, but it's really simple to understand. You have a whole line, you break it at the golden ratio. What you've done is you've said this dimension here is to this dimension here as this dimension is to the whole thing, AB. And you've seen this diagram before, but this is made up of that golden ratio, where that is to that as that is to that. And it just keeps expanding out there, where this is to that as that is to that. And that growth geometrically like that is the Fibonacci sequence. And you see that in sunflowers, in nautilus shells, even say in the Parthenon. If you Google the golden ratio, you'll see tons of images, and some of them you'll see like the Mona Lisa with the Fibonacci sequence, that diagram, or a painting from the Sistine Chapel, say, or something. And honestly, I think it's a bit of a stretch. I think it's kind of manipulated to fit, really. I mean, certainly the old masters were using geometric structures to aid in their composition with multi-figure compositions, for certain. But for us, for most of the painting we're doing, perhaps single figure, still life, landscapes, the Fibonacci sequence is probably way too complicated to be worth it. I've found the golden ratio is not much use for me in landscape, but in analyzing some of my own paintings, figures and still life for this video, I found that that lines up right there with the golden ratio. And it wasn't something I measured. It was more something that, just intuitively I put it there. Here, I'll show you a couple of examples. So in this figure in the market, the golden ratio falls right there. And I only discovered that later making this video. Certainly I didn't think about it when I was making the painting. It just felt right. The same with this still life. There's a horizontal and a vertical that both sort of line up in terms of where the center of interest is. But again, it was just intuitively placed. And again, in this case, in the portrait, there's the golden ratio falls right down the front of her face. And it was just an intuitive decision. It wasn't like I was trying to fit the formula to the painting. Let's look at one last thing on the golden ratio, and that's the golden rectangle. If you take a square and divide it right down the middle, and then take compass, and just do that, that is the golden rectangle. If you want to spend more time thinking about this, this is a really useful website for calculating the golden ratio. Coincidentally, 2 of the landscapes I've done recently are done in the golden rectangle. They're 9 by 14. Technically, it would be 8.6 by 14. But in both cases, again, it was an intuitive decision based on the composition, not trying to fit into the formula of the golden rectangle. Let's turn to well, we'll call it the rule of thirds, because I find it really helpful, and we'll analyze a couple of images. But first, just look at a photograph. And for transferring either a photograph or from life, looking through a gridded viewfinder, just look at, for example, the placement of that. You can just sort of see where that sits relative to there, or that. It's just over halfway, let's say. Or here, it's maybe 2/3 of the way, almost 3/4 of this distance here. It just gives you 9 times as many reference points for getting the proportions right as just looking at the image itself. I've discussed this idea of the thirds before, like with this image. You can see the center of interest is outside the thirds. It's not that I'm not using the rule of thirds. I'm very definitely pushing against the rule of third to create that extra dynamism on the picture plane. The golden ratio, as it happens, falls right about there. Nothing particularly useful there. There's this idea that we should put our center of interest in one of the sweet spots of the rule of thirds, right? Now, the problem with that is if you put something here and you're busy painting, I'm sure you've had the experience how it just sort of starts to creep over and sit in the end like an inert in the middle. And the reason for that is we're looking for symmetry in our life, basically. And so in what I'm thinking in terms of painting is to get away from that symmetry, which is kind of imposing itself naturally into the painting process. So by going outside of the thirds like that, you sort of overcome that natural tendency to want things to slide into the middle. So again, in this one we were looking at, you see I've pushed this outside of the third. I'm using the thirds to expand the dynamism. And there's the image that we're going to be looking at for this week's long form demo, 10 by 12. And again, I'm using the thirds. The golden ratio falls about here. It's not really of much use. But again, you can see I'm just pushing us out beyond here in order to have these larger shapes and create dynamism and the tension over the picture plane. So I hope you found that interesting. You can click right here, I think, and connect to the long form demo. The only link below this video is a link to the demo, and you can watch that now. It's about 15 minutes long, shows, palette mixing, panel, and voiceover.
Okay.
But yeah,
That's good. I do agree with him on many things. He wasn't extremely technical in showing you how to do the golden ratio correctly, and it's because he doesn't use it. And neither do most artists. We really don't use it totally. We use probably a very loose interpretation of the rule of thirds, which is almost literally the same. It's mainly what he said, to keep you out of the dead center, throwing everything dead center. Now you can see Diebenkorn really, he might use the golden ratio very, very tightly. I don't know. It looks like he does often. So we can go, I mean, as you can see, there's so much written on it here. And it's really interesting, but I wouldn't go through that much math to lay out my painting. Although it's interesting how often my stuff works out completely with it. And you'll find, your compositions that you really like probably work out with it. So like he said, He uses it to check his work out, not as much to actually lay it in. So it's kind of up to you how you want to use it, if you want to use it, but there's some really good videos here on it. Just write golden ratio, or I said the golden sectional square, you could call it golden sectional rule. It'll all give you pretty much the same thing. And it's really interesting, but so there you go on that. Let's go.
Thank you, Rob. That was
Sure.
very interesting.
Yeah, you're welcome.
What about that Fibonacci sequence? I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it's another mathematical formula. That's extremely symmetrical and shows it really, people who do fractal work in computers really use it quite often to accomplish things. I don't use it. So, but if you're into doing things really, really symmetrically, you could check it out. Fibonacci square, or the Fibonacci, whatever you call it, technique.
He said sequence.
Sequence, there you go. So yeah, I've gone over it before. We used it in school. I don't use it. It doesn't jive with me, but if I were doing extremely symmetrical things, like maybe if I were a graphic designer or something, that would work. So anyway, here we go. Let's check this out.
What's the first thing you do when you approach a blank canvas?
Well, I think I have to violate the canvas some way or other. Sometimes they're just too pristine looking and too kind of perfect to do anything on. But when they get a bit besmirched, well then they're fair game. It's a very complex activity, believe me, and I don't enjoy it all the time. When I do enjoy it, it's marvelous. But there are times when somehow the inertia won't is very resistant, and I can't get things going, and or they get going sort of, and go slowly and badly, and this isn't fun really. But then my hope is that I can kind of get things into just that relationship where some kind of continuity materializes. Very often, if you go to the locale where an artist works, you'll suddenly really know that you're in this person's area. You go to Arles, or you feel the Van Gogh around you. You go to the hill towns and go to Siena and or Florence, and you get this suddenly you're seeing Piero or whomsoever.
Pretty interesting, huh? Doesn't sound very mathematical to me. Like he sounds like a very, very intuitive person. Let's see. All right, let's hear it.
I think what an artist does is all about is what's around him, what's his environment, cultural, physical, visual.
Wandering through the countryside in California's Sonoma County, he appears every bit the outdoors.
I used to think I was a really landscape artist. I think I revised that a little bit.
He is, in fact, a recent arrival from the big city who has come to this land of color and quiet to paint the quiet, colorful works that have made him famous. He is Richard Diebenkorn, a master of contemporary American art.
I think it's hard for an artist to see himself, really. I'm aware of a predisposition to spareness or aloneness is something I value.
His sense of aloneness extends well beyond the canvas. In an age of publicity-hungry artists, Richard Diebenkorn has always felt uncomfortable in the spotlight.
Thanks very much.
The solitude of the studio suits him well. For years, his working procedure has been the same: to sit and contemplate a canvas, sometimes for hours, before ever picking up a brush.
Usually pieces have to go through several sessions. I never seem to be able to get anything one shot right off. Sometimes I get sort of rooted to the chair, and then sometimes I think, well, I just can't sit here. I've got to do something. So then I'll be really rather arbitrary.
Is that really the feeling? Do you feel like you're wasting time, or
Sometimes, yeah. Time's going by. And,
how would you describe it in its current state? Finished?
yeah, I think possibly almost finished, but those are famous last words, almost finished, and I've said it with pieces and found myself still working on them a year later.
His work, nearly 50 years of it, includes early abstract paintings. A period during the 50s and 60s when he turned to landscape, to still life, the human figure. And in the last 25 years, the series of serene geometric abstracts that sealed his reputation, the Ocean Park series, named for the area in Santa Monica in Southern California, where his studio was. It was a place that inspired many of his greatest works, but the pressures of the Los Angeles area began to intrude too much on this most solitary of men.
In the last year, I felt that each time I went out in the car to West Los Angeles for errands or whatever, every trip I made, it was that much worse. I felt that I was more hemmed in, more closed in on, the traffic was heavier. That shows you something about how high the water was, but
And so it was that Diebenkorn came to the Rutland River of Northern California, where his dogs, Amy and Lucy, can run free, and where the river itself attracts him again and again. Do you ever, seeing a scene like this, say, all right, I'm just going to go back to representational painting one time just to get this?
oh, sure, absolutely.
Do you?
Yeah.
I mean, here,
I just thought I was down here with Amy several days ago, and I thought, well, next time I come down, I'll bring sketch pad and I'm gonna draw that.
did you do it?
And I hadn't done it yet, but I'm going to. I guess in the 50s, when I was doing abstract painting, I thought, well, to do representational stuff was just beyond the pale when an artist with any seriousness or sensibility simply didn't do that. It was a sort of mindset that for a set of reasons one had. And now with I and most artists don't have that mindset. So that if you see something out there that turns you on, well, it's subject. Subjects.
One measure of Diebenkorn's standing in the art world, this current display of his drawings at the Museum of Modern Art in New York. Another, the recent sale of a Diebenkorn painting for $1.2 million, which puts him in a very select club of living American artists whose works command such prices. His friend and this exhibit's curator, John Elderfield.
For me, he's a very important artist. He manages both to be pioneering and to remind one in his work of the great masters of the past and to reinvent their message for new generations. A sort of reimagining of Matisse, of Cézanne, of even earlier artists who he admires very deeply.
That's a bit more chaotic than this.
But after all the analysis, Richard Diebenkorn marvels, just like the rest of us, at the mystery of how art comes to be created. Each of his works a roadmap of its own making, with changes and second thoughts right there on the canvas for anyone to see.
There's a trial and error and a butting one's head against the wall. I might say it's all right except for one little corner, and so I changed that little corner, and then that alters other parts, and pretty soon I'm back into it, and then maybe it changes completely.
The aim is not what we might call finish in a conventional way, because some of the works look unfinished, but rather having fought that fight to his satisfaction. And when he feels somehow that he's worked that out, then he can leave it alone.
Okay. Tell you what, copy. And, oh, whoops. Let me put these in the chat. If you want those videos, here's one. Okay. So those are, and that one will get you to the golden section square. Yeah, it has many different names: golden sectional square, golden ratio. It is very interesting. You could totally see it in his work. So absolutely. Okay. So let's get to our thing here. And let's see now. A little wider than this. Okay, I'm going to come out about this far here. He certainly, if you were to divide this into thirds like this, you'll see how things sort of work out. I love how he has really complex areas and then really big spatial areas. That's one thing he gives to art. And I feel like Hopper, I feel like he is in line with Hopper as a composer. You just look at Hopper's compositions, very similar. So These are very geometric. We'll just, as far as this goes, let's just give it some really basic. I'll be able to get every little thing in there. Now he does have perspective, and you can see how this road right here is converging. And then it kind of turns. So it is a, right. So it is getting a little bit smaller, but then what's happening up here? Why isn't this converging too? Because it's probably going uphill. I assume that is going uphill. So yeah, it's almost going straight up. So that's interesting. Some dark in there. For those of you that took the class before and had Wayne Thiebaud, he and Wayne Thiebaud are good friends. They were really good friends, and
I was going to say this reminded me of that Wayne Thiebaud.
oh yeah, they Wayne Thiebaud is also almost really kind of linked in with the Bay Area painters, Bay Area figure painters. Diebenkorn's one of the founding members of that Bay Area movement.
Is this done from a rooftop or a photo?
Pretty high up there looking down on it, yeah.
Or maybe it was a photo taken from the air and then.
Yeah, maybe, a helicopter or something, yeah.
Do we have a name for it? Do you know?
It's just, I think, didn't I write it down there? It's called Cityscape #1 or something like that.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. This, and so I think it's longer than this. Yeah, it comes down to about. I'll just take it down about there. But it feels wider, so I'm sort of off somewhere. Interesting to study this. Really, I like that. I think I'll just give me a quick picture of that. Kind of cool. Or a paint on it. Ah, shoot. Wrong button. That one sounded like a camera. Okay. So as you can see, it's really close to abstraction. And this, he is a very special artist. I call him a crossover artist because he's really, you can see art change with him. We go from abstraction back to a beginning of realism again. And so when you see art break down from neoclassicism to realism to impressionism and then expressionism and then all the way down to simplified abstract expressionism, and then it comes back up again into these very expressive landscape. I think his work has a lot to do with expressionism, and you can see a lot of Matisse in his work. All right, let's see. I'm going to take some. Let's see here. Okay. Let's go for some. Whoops. There we go. Notice the gray house top right here is almost the same value as the sky. Interesting choice. All right, so we have that gray. So if that is true, then I'm going to put that here on this one, and there's another one. And a few things down here. We have these gray tops, which are a little bit, maybe a little bit darker. And then we have a almost black right here. And some really interesting shadows down below. Got a rooftop here. I want to cast a shadow down there. But this, we have a light roof here and then a dark side there. This is just a little bit lighter. There we go. And then we have this shadow being cast, which is a little bit darker. And right, we have these dark shadows. And just leave, just like an abstractionist, he's going to leave all of his process for you to see. All this is in shadow. Probably darker than that. It's interesting. Yeah, there's the dark grass, a little bit of light grass in there, and the white. And this, oh, I wish I could get, hold on. There we go, it's like this. That's why we gray, dark here for balance, I'm sure. Darker shape here, it's blue shape. All dark shapes, bushes. And they come in with some. How about let's just establish the really darkest shape. I'd say right here. Maybe darker than that. Oh, dark things in there. This strip of grass here is darker. The light on the road is lighter. I'll come back and hit that shadow. This little, I guess it's another rooftop, is a little bit darker, not that dark. See, everything relates to the next shape. Remember when he said, if I make one little change, it throws everything off. Oh boy. There's some grass here, a bit lighter than that. And there we got a little tree. little tree there. We got some shadows. All those little touches make a big difference. And these whites, I mean, are very, very bright. I'm just going to leave them white and come back with a value. It's almost that bright. Whoops, let's try. There's the grass, okay. And then we have some grass right at the center here. And then we have something very light and then very light. And then the beige, which is kind of medium. The grass is almost the same. Come down here, there's that light, and then we have this gray here, which is very light, and this beige again, which is all the same in value. Now I can see that my grass here needs to go darker, and this light here needs to go a little darker. You know, that's just, I mean, he agonizes over these things, but not that dark.
Now you're calling it grass because it's green?
Well, I don't know what else it could be in the landscape. I would assume that's grass. I'm
Okay.
assuming it's grass. There we go. Some dark trees over here. Oh, these go a little bit darker. All right. Pretty decent, pretty decent. A little bit darker on some of these. These guys get pretty dark in the shadows up in there. Got a couple of little chiselly shapes in there. And oftentimes, not, I don't see it so much in this, but he'll leave his lines as well. They're really abstract. Even the shadow across the road isn't separating enough. Yeah, there we go. Okay. And I love how he balances it. He puts this little, you know, this dark over here, it means a lot to him. You can tell that. He needs something over here to balance all this dark out. So do these.
Rob,
Hmm?
does this follow the rule of thirds? It seems like everything's on the left, more activity and contrast and
Well, just remember the rule of thirds is not to be like the artist said, it's not to be it's not to be used strictly. When you use it strictly, everything looks very formulaic. It's only to keep you from making things too symmetrical, because do you remember when he said that the human mind wants to make everything symmetrical?
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of people would say, well, why would you want to fight that? And then, well, okay, don't fight it and see what happens. You know, you'll have this extremely symmetrical thing that looks like an icon, and that gets monotonous after a while. It just gets really boring.
Yeah.
So
This has almost the opposite. I don't know where to focus.
asymmetrical.
Does
He's
this,
not trying to be a classical painter and tell a story and have this main focal point, and he's not trying to do that at all.
okay.
Remember, I mean, he's trying to do, he's breaking bound, he's doing something totally new. He's coming out of abstraction. He's trying to show you how abstract expressionism would interpret landscape, because the abstract expressionism wouldn't touch landscape. He's like the first guy that dipped his toe back into realism. Or not the, of course he's not the first, but he's a key painter in that realm. So and he explains it to you right there. When you listen to the interview. All right, let's do it again here. Let's do the color now. Yeah, he's allowing you to make that up for yourself. You are a participant in the painting. That is what an abstraction does too, as well. They try to leave big areas. They don't want to control it like a classical painter. They want you to be a participant and have make your own experience. Oops, I'll put this over about there. Yeah. So modern painting is very different than classical painting. It's almost opposite in many, many ways. Will we come back to classical painting? We always come back to classical painting. Classical painting always comes back. This comes almost straight down all the way. But it's an investigation. You remember, I mean, that's what modern painting is. That's why we paint. We don't want everything to be solved. I mean, of course, when everything's solved, then there's no reason to paint anymore. And they thought that painting was dead at this time too. When he comes back, when all these artists in California come back to realism through the Bay Area, it really was the Bay Area painters that broke us back into realism. It's a very, very, it's like, I'm so proud to be a part of California. There we go. There's I mean, it's way before my time. This was all solved before I was born, but I just feel like a part of that tradition. I want to be a part of that tradition. Therefore, I am a part of that tradition, see? And that's the way things are. You make those choices. Not some art critic. That's just fine if they want to. Feel all powerful and everything, but no. I, Okay, there we go. Here's that black area right here. There's just so many shapes in here. I mean, just try to sum it up. Remember, California is the place where everybody came. And what Harry Carmian used to teach us was, he said, you know, we all moved out here to get away from the dogma of New York. Just everybody's trying to, you know, knock off the next person for the big idea, the next big idea. And it just gets really, really routine. So many people moved out here for that kind of the California dream, I guess. All right. We got a little light shape through here. And a little light shape through here. Those are great. And this shadow shape. Okay. Okay. First thing I think I'll do is put in that ultramarine blue in the sky. This was almost like doing the whole painting here. Yeesh. Ultramarine blue. And you know, I see a lot of ultramarine blue. Anywhere you see some ultramarine blue, even though it's kind of gray, just go ahead and put it in there. You know, I'm gonna make that grayer, but I see some blue like in this little shape here. A kind of arrow shape there on the top. And then some of these buildings are casting shadows down on a white building like here. And it's got a lot of blue in it. So I'm going to go ahead and put a little blue in that, especially up here. Right, we got a neat shadow in there. And some of these grays, well, I think first I'll want to hit the greens. So I'm seeing a lot of lemon yellow and what color do you call this? Lemon yellow and Russian with a lot of lemon in that. And you see that here too. And here and out here. A little bit here. And this one here gets kind of bluer and duller. So I'm going to add, actually, I'm going to add some ultramarine blue to that because the ultramarine blue has a little bit of red in it and it should dull it. Yeah, I'm thinking that was the right way to go. And then okay, and then I see a lot of that in here, but darker. Oops, I went right over that little light shape. Pretty dark. It's the Prussian blue with a touch of lemon in it and ultramarine blue too. And I'm adding a little bit of red to that, the cad red to that to gray it a little bit. Yeah, I know that looks really dark right now, but it won't dry that dark. Just had to lay it down a little bit darker. Plus the camera's wigging out on me again. Okay. Now I'm going to hit a lot of gray in this piece. I'd make 2 or 3 values of gray. So the Prussian blue and the red make you a nice gray. And so here we go through here. Yeah. Wow, it's so shiny, huh? Let me get that shine. And then I do this and you can't see it. Yeah, I'm opening my my curtain. That's nice. Ooh, sun's shiny today. Very shiny. You know, I don't know why I didn't put all this green in here. And notice how the shadow goes from darker, it's a little bit lighter and lighter back here. He's a landscape painter. But like you said, not totally, but oh, he brings that way out here, doesn't he? Yeah, you know, a lot of landscape painters really connect with Diebenkorn too. I'll come back and glaze some green over that. Just give it a little bit darker. And then some of those beige. So there's a lot of green and gray and beige and blue. I'm going to make a beige out of red, and so make an orange out of cad red and cad yellow. And that's going to be 2 orange, so I'm going to add a little bit of blue to that. The blue will gray it. And then just decide, does it need to be more red? Does it need to be more yellow? That's your choice. You got some beige in here and a very light beige back here. Same color, I just thinned it out. We thin that out a little bit more. We have gray in here I missed. Where's the green? These beiges back here are very light. Typical of California. Get that really, really light dirt. Full of limestone, I guess. Oh yes, little touches of red back here. I didn't see all those. It's good to note. I'll just hit some of those. I see a cad red. There's a little black area. There's some cad red in it. And there's a little touch up here. And a little touch up there. I'll go ahead and leave it dramatic so I can see. We've got a lot more gray. And these grays are mainly kind of blue gray, so I like to use the Prussian blue and the cad red and then add more Prussian blue and maybe even some ultramarine blue too. Because a lot of the reasons they are blue is because of the sky. There's that. There's another blue behind it, and there's some blue gray behind it. And then there's gray rooftops in here, gray rooftop there. Another one here. And a dark gray back there. Gray there. A lot of shadows on the right side of the buildings. Here's this. Right. And a very light gray on the top here. Light gray on the side here. We have a few like turquoisey colors. Maybe not that turquoisey, but I just want to make a note of that. There's some turquoise there, a little bit in here, a little bit back here. Here's the red, so it's just above the red. I mean, maybe a little on the side of the road there. And yeah, all the gray in the road I totally left out. Very light. This is very light there too. And then the green I totally left out. Here. So I just got the new, I just did my new classes. And I'm going to continue this class. And just so you know, and what else? I just got that in and they'll have that up soon. Maybe even tomorrow, I don't know. They'll have it up really soon. And I am definitely taking ideas for new artists you might want to look at. So give me recommendations. You can just email me. There we go, darker there, darker here. I want to do what you want to do, but I also want to do, you know, new stuff. So we have this dark right here. Okay, let's get moving here. Be here all day. It's just like Wayne T-Bone, huh? Remember when we started that thing and then suddenly you're into all these little intricacies and then you're like struggling to make it before the class ends. I know we watched those little short videos, but that kind of ended up being more time than I wanted. I mean, smacking those really good darks in there now, and that's it. That's it. Stop, Rob, stop. Oh, it never ends. I want to put more in there. I want to put more in there. Okay. Let's go. Oh, here. Zoom out for you if you want to take a photo. A little bit harder. Vertical. Oops, this way. literally like this. There you go. Take a photo. I think I'm just gonna do a big one right beside it. Blow out on this one. And nice. This will end up being really big. When I go way up to the top here, this will be fun. Free. I love his. One thing I really love on his paintings is looking at all the things he does around the edges. You know, especially in his abstract pieces, but he just does these wonderful things with edges that are so, I don't know, intuitive. At the right proportion. I'm just going to wing it here. Okay. And I'm going to give myself, bring my thing up to there. There we go. There's my first house. I'm going to bring that all straight down there. It does come in a little bit. And even this floor comes in a little bit. And he's always talking about corners. What he wants to do up in this corner over here. And you can tell he's so attentive of those things. He's just all about, you know, little things up here and then big spaces in here. Just wants you to get a modern feeling of space. You know, I think contemporary construction and everything had a lot to do with the shapes. No, I think this should probably be in here, huh? Yeah. Let's see. Do I need to crop that out or not? Right, and then we have a few little pieces of bushes in here. All right. And that little sliver of green. Then we have a kind of a but I don't know, maybe construction always had a lot to do with the way we did landscapes. We're just painting the world we see. No, I've got this new viewer. I mean, this Windows 11 on my little. Okay, that's how you do it. Okay, good. And it likes to put the pictures that are ahead of this picture right all down here on the bottom. I'm like, you're blocking my picture. So I just figured out how to do it. Of course, I'll forget next time and have to figure it all out again. frustrating if you're trying to teach. Okay, here we go. Skinny in here. Yeah, that's a skinny street back here. Really skinny. And then it ends up. Yeah. Fatter here and then turns. He leaves all those marks. So this is a very big painting, but you'll see he'll leave a lot of these marks. And I love the way it looks. So feel free to leave a lot of those marks. Just paint right over it. This green here, kind of goes like that, right? This is bigger. And there's my house. And then we have the next house. Rooftops. And then we have white. And then we have another very long rooftop there with a few little trees and such. And we have a little square of red in there. And where are we? Then we have some sort of sign coming up here. Or very abstract. I mean, really, a lot of landscape painters try to get abstract, but it's another thing to be an abstractionist and come back to landscape. They paint in a completely, maybe even sort of backwards way. And they get all kinds of stuff that a more traditional landscape painter, well, could learn a lot about, could learn from. I just feel like a student of all of it. I never got a chance to be attached to any of those movements. They were all dead by the time I was born. I mean, I can kind of identify with them, but I mean, I think you really have to be a part of that movement and a part of the time to really grasp it. Like everybody talks about the 60s and whatever, and I was born in the 60s and I do remember a lot, but I don't really understand. I understand the 80s. I was old enough to get that. Way up here. What am I doing? What am I doing?
What is it you don't understand about the 60s?
Well, I think it's kind of impossible for me to, I mean, I can read history books and grasp it that way, but, and I do remember my mom being a total hippie and, but, and growing up so free was amazing. At least I was born in 66. So, even though I was 4 years old, I do remember like just watching my mom make macrame And Hell's Angels used to come over to my house because my dad was a blacksmith and he would make them like stuff for their bikes. And I mean, it was just weird. I mean, I didn't know it was weird. I just thought it was normal, but
Yeah.
so, I mean, I have all these strange memories of things like that. But one thing I have to say is I grew up so free. Oh my gosh, compared to what they do now, it's just so sad what I see with these kids. I mean, I just grew up running around doing any flipping thing I wanted, and I got in all kinds of trouble and I got hurt like crazy. I mean, but just learned so much just by that freedom.
You were probably at the extreme end of freedom.
Yeah, I know. It would be considered child abuse today. But my mom was adamant about us just being completely free. She used to say, get out of the house.
And she was born in the 40s, right?
Oh, 30s. No, she was
30s. Okay.
Yeah.
And where was she born?
Chicago. She's
Okay.
Downers Grove. That's what she. Oh no, she's not Downers Grove. That was my foster mom. She was born in just outside Chicago.
Uh-huh.
City girl, big time city girl, big time. She came out to Santa Monica at 16 years old.
Oh my God.
And just bound and determined to be a model and a actress and just gonna live the dream. So here I go. I'm gonna throw it on ultramarine blue here. And I don't know, she used to rub elbows with some pretty heavy hitters.
Do you know what her upbringing was like?
It is pretty sad, but I mean, it was generally, I mean, she I mean, she was a convent girl, and
What kind of girl?
convent, like a Catholic convent girl.
Oh, so she was brought up Catholic.
Oh yeah, Irish Catholic, totally, yeah.
Oh, so very
Irish and German. She's Irish and German.
so strict up.
I mean, my grandpa was from Belgium, so those three, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go with the gray in here.
So she rebelled against it.
She was an extremely rebellious. It was just horrible. It was horrible things that happened to her because my grandpa died when she was really young, and it just set a course of, really a real self-destructive life.
Hmm.
She met my dad, who was, I mean, this, they're just so conflicted. I come from the most wonderful, tragic people. They make movies about these people. I mean, I didn't know it growing up like that, but I look at it now and I go, man, I'm telling you, I grew up in a movie. It was straight up crazy.
Hmm.
I mean, wicked crazy. But like a movie. And it had a real happy ending, I'm lucky. I'm so lucky to have avoided, just because my cousins took me in finally after 7 foster homes and a boys' home. My cousins took me in, who are horse people, just like I was. I grew up, my parents were horse people. My dad was a blacksmith and a master farrier. So, and so many horse people are tragic. But it was really, it was just crazy.
But you have a strong will to survive all that. And
I
look,
mean, I don't know. Yeah, well, you know, I mean, I was the youngest, so I didn't, my older siblings, there's 4 of them. I just didn't get the life they had. I avoided it. And then I was going to do something. I mean, I always knew I wasn't going to be like them. And people even said it about me growing up. They always said, "You're going to be the one that makes it out of here." That's what they said, even when I was a little kid.
what, family people or
No, people I knew, just people in the neighborhood. I grew up in
acquaintances?
a crazy neighborhood full of hillbillies and horse people, and oh my gosh, we had black people and Mexicans, and everybody was like the same.
Hmm.
We were all the same, in the same boat. My mom was this very intellectual hippie person, she found this incredible like artist craftsman guy, and they just, you know, it was fireworks.
That wasn't your father, though.
Yeah, that was my father. Yeah,
Oh,
he was a master craftsman. Yep, crazy stuff. All right, let's see. This is light. This is a light gray here. I'm going to lighten that up. Just going to lighten that up a little bit lighter than the sky. Bring that right down here. Yep. And bring that all the way down and lighter. Let's make that even lighter there. I'm just adding water and pulling it down. And over here, very light.
do you think Diebenkorn was attracted to all the shapes that he sees in this?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Isn't it interesting how he shoves it all over here, all the complexity, and then he has all the simplicity over here? Isn't that great? I mean, a classicist just generally won't do that. He finds order in it. He finds his own order in it. It's interesting.
How was it received initially? Do you know? Or
Well, he's a very respected artist.
he was when he did this, huh?
I mean, well, and yeah, I don't know the whole story, but I mean, I think that he's very well received. Yeah, I know, huh? It must be weird for an artist like of his caliber to jump ship and go from abstraction and being pretty darn well known to a type of realism. And you see his abstraction early on. He's hard, really a heavy hitter. I would expect that was a bit stressful. I mean, he probably could have just sailed on that reputation for a whole career, but I mean, this is why he's Diebenkorn. He's a pure artist. He's gonna risk all that. And so we have another green here with a lot of blue in it. What's going on there? Okay, yeah. There's some light through there, so I got to bring this in a little bit closer. This a little further down. Right. There we go. These beautiful, beautiful geometric shapes here. And it's I'm mainly using Prussian blue and cad yellow. I'm sorry. Yeah, here. Yeah, more cad yellow. And let me see. Let me throw some of that ultramarine blue in there. See, the ultramarine blue has a little red in it. So then we have these yellowy greens. So I'm going to go with the lemon yellow and a little bit of Prussian blue. Let's make sure we're muted, everybody. All right, let's see now. There's that little strip of dark right there. We do get quite a yellowy thing happening in there. And then this one over here, this green, yeah, it's pretty, a little bit duller than these. Means you're going to get a little duller as you get far away. He's a landscape painter. And the more you copy this, you realize, especially knowing what I know about landscape, he's good. He's no slouch. I mean, knowing this stuff, and the great thing, just his consideration of shape, I could learn a lot. I could learn a lot from these, a whole lot. Main thing I'm learning here is his use of space. There we go. Big color field. See, he's really a color field painter. Every little field of color is considered. And then this one gets bluer and duller, so I'm going to add more ultramarine to that green. There's some more beige in that. I'll just paint right over those. It'd be great to know more about him. These Bay Area painters are so interesting. All of them are. And Wade Thibault, he's never. He kind of lumped him. He came in a little bit later and lumped in with the pop artists. He's really not a pop artist. He's really, Wayne Thibault is, in a sense, his own artist, really. You can't really pigeonhole him. You can call him a pop artist. Oh, he's the guy who did all those pinball machines and cakes and stuff. But people that say that haven't seen enough of his work. Especially at the end, he's not even doing that anymore. almost completely abstract. I love how he again does the same thing. These two have a lot in common. And again, very, very much in the tradition of Hopper. And I like to really stress that because Hopper is such an influential painter in American composition. Wow. And I can't state that enough. And photography too. Photographers really, really, really look up to Hopper. But when you analyze Hopper's compositions, which I have done a lot of work in that area, you'll see how he influences. He's so good at this kind of. God, Hopper's such an amazing compositional painter. Let's try some beiges here. So I'm going to make up the red, yellow, and blue. Basically, cad red, cad yellow. Making the an orange, and then I'll gray it with a little bit of ultramarine blue. Let's see where we are here now. Might be a little on the blue side. Actually, it's not too bad. Not too bad. He puts a little bit in this little shadow here too. It's really a piece of abstraction using landscape as a I would call it representational abstraction, really. I mean, maybe it's a little too representational to be called that, but I call it representational abstraction. Remember when he said, I think of myself as a landscape painter, but not quite. He's another artist who's just really hard to pigeonhole. You know, I've always thought that would be the wonderful place to be. Like, who am I as an artist? Well, I just do this thing. I do this. I'm influenced by a lot of artists. I love art. But to put me in a category, you know, like what category do you put David Hockney in? I mean, I don't know. I guess an expressionist, but like a pop expressionist, that's way underselling it, way undercutting it. Pop, I wouldn't even know. So, I mean, I don't know. I guess he's a pop artist. I think he's associated with that, but I don't know. I mean, when I think of pop art, I think of like Andy Warhol and maybe Peter Max and anti-aesthetic art. They didn't like aesthetics. That's one thing to know about. It was a reaction against aesthetics. So abstraction, they didn't want to do abstraction. They're not about abstraction. They want to do artwork that just appeals to the masses. And they don't make any bones about it. So Campbell's soup cans. I'm throwing the shadow here now. You know, any kind of thing to push this idea of I'm going to take the mundane, and if I shove it down your throat enough, you're going to accept it as art. I mean, and really, not really. I mean, they're really just reflecting what they were doing in advertising. I mean, in a sense, if art is showing the world what's happening in the world, then they were right on the money. I mean, you might not like it, but that's neither here nor there. They're showing you what's going on in the world. So I respect that. As an artist, you're just a fly on a wall. You're just showing people what's going on. But do you like it? Well, I don't even know if it's about that. Art isn't always about pleasing people or pleasing an audience. It's complicated. I always like to say, if you watch the movies, Martin Scorsese makes a realistic movie. I mean, it's grim. It ain't pretty. You wouldn't want to hang a Martin Scorsese up above your couch, It's not gonna. It may be kind of pretty in all of its gruesomeness, but no, I mean, but is it good? Yes, it is. It's good for what it is. It's incredible. So good means you can be good and be a lot of different things. I mean, I have one friend in particular who I don't like his work. I don't like his work. I mean, it's like the antithesis of me, but I respect the hell out of him as an artist. I know what he's trying to do, and he does it well. Actually, I have a couple, maybe more than that. They're pretty darn successful too. So I won't name any names. And we get along. Even in school, we were the same way. We would just be like, hey, they didn't like my work either. So I respect that. I can not like somebody's work, but respect it for being very good for what it is. More gray here, a little darker gray. Dark here. Kind of a blue gray there. Almost violet. So if it does get a little bit violet in your grays, maybe add just a touch of that magenta. That got dark. Want a little bit more magenta in this foreground gray here. Yeah, a little bit more. And notice how they get a little bit, they get lighter as they go back. This gets darker, but then these ones back here are lighter. One thing I will say about my real mom, though, is that she educated me and instilled all kinds of art ideas and concept in me before I was able to even understand any of it. And she did it on purpose. I know. I mean, she never had mentioned it, but now that I'm older, I can see she did all that. Probably knew what I was going to do in life. Well, even when I was a kid, they used to say, "You're going to be either a comedian or an artist or a photographer." That's what they said. Because even as a little kid, I would run around with a camera everywhere. That was pretty cool. Like, no, I really liked it. I'm actually, I like the visuals, but I really like the drawing more. I mean, taking the picture is really neat, though. Camera is more of a tool. And then she'd give me paper and I would just practice the strokes. I would just practice the strokes. I know she knew exactly what she was doing. In fact, she would give me Sumi brushes. That's probably why I prefer them now. I don't know. I would assume probably has something to do with it. I don't know why I even like. Thank God for Henry. Henry got me hooked on him again. And I'm like, wow, I'm just made for and this brush is just, I was designed to use a brush like this. I don't know if that's, I think maybe everyone is. I don't know. I think they're really, really versatile brushes. They take a beating. I ask them to perform and they just jump. They say, yes, sir. That's what I need out of a brush. I'm just knocking down a lot of these whites. We got all this beige right here. There's green in this beige. Kind of beigey. Kind of greeny. Beige is red, yellow, and blue. Cad red, cad yellow, ultramarine blue. The green, I'm just using Prussian and lemon. You know, that got a little blue in it. So I think I might add a little bit of ultramarine blue to that green. Yeah, there we go. Give it a little bit more dullness, I guess. Yes. You see, he does to separate this sidewalk from the road. He does hit a little bit of something dark in there. I think I'll go with the violet, that blue violet I was using in the gray, and just glaze that over. Just work it into the color. There we go. And look at these little slivers of shadow he puts in there. I mean, they're so precious. It's little. I love those when I do them too. You got to really notice them. Shadow on the wall here. It's a little aqua in there. I forgot about the reds. Oh, sort of turquoise. There's the black, so it's right there. Like turquoise there. And then red. We used cat red. And just regular cat red. And see, he does throw a little bit up in the grass area. And dull that down a little bit. There we go. And you see something back here, kind of orangey, like a almost terracotta-ish. More orangey, so I add a little bit of yellow to that red and just keep it rather dull. Could be darker. It's a compartmentalized way to paint. I mean, I usually paint in big masses, and he does, but he really kind of, he's just got all these little color fields. See, I could use a little bit more contrast. You know, part of it's just going to dry lighter, so. You know, unfortunately, I mean, his life was cut kind of short. I don't know. I don't know exactly how old he was when he passed, but I just remember he got lung cancer because he's a big smoker.
Are you talking about Diebenkorn?
Yeah.
Yeah, he died in 93. And he was only 70, 71.
Wow.
And Wayne Thiebaud was 101 when he died
Yeah.
in 1921.
It's funny how-
2021.
Interesting. One of the artists I was telling you about that well, anyway, I actually did an independent study with Richard Diebenkorn that I knew. And what else? And then what else? Oh, then I, of course, talked to Wayne Thiebaud, who took me aside and was just so cool. Really nice. What a guy. Was known for doing that, and he did that with me. I was like, because I just, you know, when you ask us an artist certain questions, they're gonna take you aside. So anyway, it was really nice talking to him.
And he knew you were an artist?
Oh yeah, I told him, yeah. I was fresh out of art school. I was just talking to him about Sorolla. He loves Sorolla, and wanted to talk to me about Sorolla.
Uh-huh.
He had a lot of great things to say. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was very knowledgeable stuff about Sorolla, and wanted to know he was all into me. I mean, he's all into like what I was into. Totally selfless. I mean, what a guy. I don't know, he's an example. He's just a great example. I've always kind of wanted to be like him. Ever since I met him, I'm like, you know what? I like something about that guy. I like that guy. I like him. And what a and this textbook. I mean, he graduated art school. He became an art director. Then just went to Davis and got his master's, and then he goes to New York, hangs out with all these artists in the cafes, and here's what they're talking about. And I mean, he's just by the book. And then what is it? He doesn't get an art agent or anything. He starts his own art gallery. That's Tebow. I mean, what a powerhouse. But I will say, when I was in San Francisco, people ask me, some of the artists would ask me, now, who do you like? And I'd be like, well, I like Wayne Tebow. And I got a lot of negative reaction about that. Don't you think he's more of an illustrator kind of thing like that? And I was like, yeah, I'm an illustrator. Is there something wrong with that?
Looking down on illustrators, huh?
Well, that's a thing.
Yeah. Look at Norman Rockwell now.
Yeah. I mean, I was never a Norman Rockwell. I never. But anyway, I used to like to say, yeah, I like to get the price of the artwork worked out before I do it. And watch them like, huh? In other words, oh, you're just telling me that fine artists don't ask for money? Because they have this big thing about money, like an artist should never do artwork for money. I'm like, artists have always done artwork for money. Are you crazy? I mean, doesn't mean you have to sell your soul. My God. What does that make Ruben? A big whore? That was the whole thing. You're a whore. He even called me a whore. Oh, no, he called me a prostitute. Excuse me. I guess there's a difference. Oh. Well, not really. I mean,
I think a prostitute is classier.
yeah, there you go. Oh, I wish I would have had the forethought to say something like that. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Oldest profession.
I'm giggling.
I'm just working on augmenting some of these shapes now. And just remember, he would work for long periods of time on these. You see, just agonize to get some of these shapes. little beiges in here. Really good idea to step back, but I can't really step back. But I can look up on my screen. I can do this. I can flip it. All those yellowy greens are really standing out. Maybe they don't stand out that much. Flip it upside down. That kind of thing can really help. Just a shuck. Now, as usual, I'm painting very dull here, and it looks extremely, and all my colors look very, very intense up there. I could gray it down and is this saturation here? What's this? That's too gray. More in that neighborhood. Yeah. I'd say it's probably more in that neighborhood. Let me reset it. And it just really saturates it.
When I was listening to the speech that his daughter gave, it
Yeah.
was showing where his pictures were right next to Matisse's, and
Yeah.
Matisse's daughter was there with her.
Oh,
The next generation, and they were talking about the similarities and how he was influenced by Matisse.
absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. And the whole Bay Area movement. The Bay Area figure painters, and we should do something with them as well. We only have, but definitely next term. Because he's one of the, I don't know if is he a founding member, but I know Dave Park and Elmer Bischoff would all both be great studies. I think we've done Dave Park, but Elmer Bischoff's wow, talk about influenced by Hopper. Wow. And just amazing.
How about if we did a Hopper?
We didn't do a Hopper this term, did we? We could finish off with a Hopper. More realistic. Hopper's such an interesting cat. You know, I growing up around so many Hopper-esque people from Chicago, you know, and they're very city-like, and they're out here in California and just, you know, just trying to figure the whole thing out like every kid does. I remember Hopper's paintings. You know, my mom would take me to museums, and I was the only one in the family she would take to museums. And then I remember thinking about those pennies and thinking, wow, that's my family. I mean, my family, this reminds me of like the people I grew up around. Very I don't know what the word is. All I can think of is tragic, lonely. They really capture something about America, about American modernism, and what modernism has done to people. That should be right there. You know, I watch these. I like one of my little hobbies is tribal people. I watch all these things. You know, YouTube has just got millions, trillions of videos on all kinds of things. And so they'll have tribal people showing what they can do, you know, with all of their crafts. And they'll just go out from nature and just make stuff. And it's really good. It's really good. What they can do with their hands is absolutely phenomenal. They're passed down, these skills were passed down to them, and they have these traditions and, you know, tribal dance, tribal cooking, tribal art, tribal everything, storytelling, everything. And you're just kind of going, yeah, they really got a lot that we don't got. We could learn a lot from them. I do. I just sit and watch. That's how I vegetate. One of my little hobbies. So curious how they watching a guy make a hut or something, or watching a woman make a basket, or they go out and find a root, and then they find the root how it grows naturally, you know, and then they bring it back and they boil it, skin it, boil it, everything, you know, and you're just like, wow, that's real. It's amazing. Yeah, we could learn a lot from them. Okay. Okay. So much to do. It is darker. It just never ends. Every time you change something, you see something else. Just like Diebenkorn said. Remember what he said when the guy asked him about if the painting was finished? Just like every painter I know.
Yeah, almost. And then a year later, he's still thinking almost.
Exactly. Just like Degas, just like so many artists. They're just never finished. You have this idea, you want to work it out, and the idea changes as you go, and it's creativity though. Be bigger. Could have brought that out to there. Yeah. It's just a search, you know, you're always trying to figure that thing out, and it, you know, it's abstract. And it doesn't matter. I mean, even if you're a realist, that thing you're after, that whatever it is, a color feeling or a shape idea or whatever it is, you're just so, and sometimes you get it. It's really it's like panning for gold or something, you know. Sometimes you get it and sometimes you don't. But once you get it, you get that fever. Oh, because man, you want that feeling. That feeling is just amazing when you get it. You're just like, I set out to do this, and I think I did it. Did I do it? I think I did. And then you get home, and maybe you look at it later and you go, well, it's not quite as good as I thought it was. I could use this and that. And then other times you're like, wow, it's still, I can't believe it. I actually still feel good about this thing. Hardly ever happens. It's just, I don't know. It's such an amazing feeling. That's what we all want. I mean, it's just you have a goal. Anytime you have a goal in anything, and you do it, you succeeded. Wow, that was pretty good. Pretty darn good. Let's see. Feel good about that one. Oops. Okay. About 10 minutes. So we got 36, 46.
Okay.
All right. I like this page. Be a good one for the book. So
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
See where we are. Okay. Let's start with Lily. I see that's pretty nice, Lily.
Thank you.
Nice layout, good values, interesting shapes too. You really, it's almost like a mosaic, huh? And it pieces things together, That's what he does. I mean, you're really grasping that. That's when I should have said that earlier. I don't know why I didn't. Feels like you got that feeling of a mosaic in there. I think you're doing really good. Great looking shapes. I hope this helps you. And, like when you want to design your own landscape, how do you want to lay it out? Well, look at all these different ways to do it. I mean, it's amazing. So, stuff to think about. I would consider on some of these grays, maybe adding just a touch of color, like for instance, that's too much. I was going to say, I don't really have a good violet here, but that too. Maybe I'm just wanting something a little bit more violet in the gray,
Okay.
kind of a little more, just a touch more violet or
Okay.
color in the grays. And that's small thing. Yeah, you got a lot of good colors in here. All right. Maybe some little shadows on the right-hand side of some of these. That's because it's really well done.
Thank you.
I'm having to be very picky.
Fine.
Is it good? I'm glad you got something out of it. That's good. All right. Thank you very much, Lily.
Thank you.
Very experimental. Yeah. Well done. Yolanda, let me get these out of here. Ooh, now you showing off a lot more drawing on this. And he would do that too. Some of his things show off quite a bit of drawing. This is more of a, this is a really big painting. That's just fine. Great looking, again, great looking mosaic-y shapes.
Well, I don't quite understand. What do you mean about the drawing?
Well, see how you're showing the line quality?
Oh, right. Yeah, I really like to do that.
That's fine.
I figured it would be all right. I really enjoyed this, and what I enjoy about it is you could feel the depth.
Yeah.
It just pulls you right into the ocean.
Right. Which means here's an abstractionist incorporating realistic ideas. So you really have to call him a representational abstractionist when he's doing this kind of thing.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, just means, he's in a very abstract way representing things. Some people are even much looser than he is in this case. So good looking shapes. Really, maybe this red over here could be a little beigeur. Maybe I could see possibly some greener
in there.
Yeah, greener.
Yeah, I think the blue took over in the end.
little touch more violet in here. I don't know if this is gonna work. Nope. But anyway, I can't make a violet with this thing.
No,
It's not
really.
like- Anyway, small things like that. This is a little on the dark side, so
Okay.
you easily lighten that up. It's
I was compensating for the lightning that comes and
yeah.
Yeah.
It's really well done.
oh, thank you. That's the
Yeah.
greatest words.
And just also think about things just as things get back in space. See, these greens back here
Mhm,
are a little bit bluer, a little bit duller
mhm.
than the yellowy kind of greens up in here.
Right. He has at least 4 to 5 different greens in there.
Yeah, oh yeah. So they're small, but I'll just point that out. Okay. Thank you, Yolanda.
Thank you.
You're welcome. There's Cynthia. Or Cindy. All right, Cindy. Very colorful. Now you really, on the other hand, really, now this could be the piece, but no, I can see these whites here. So I would say in general, your values are dead on. They're really, really good. These are a little red, but it's quite beautiful, that's for sure. He's kind of a gray or blue-gray color, but good looking shapes, great drawing. Really a nice looking shadow right here. You even got all the little nuances of the little things hanging off the top. Little fans on the top. And very abstract, good looking shapes, good looking color fields. See, this is kind of bland, a little more bland of a green. If anything, just like watercolor too, just to dry a little bit more bland than you could. I might throw just a touch. If you want to do a quick lace, maybe something a little touch more saturated up in these areas. And that's just for the sake of distance. This is great. All right, any questions or comments or?
Oh, no, this was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was lots of fun.
Very nicely done too. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Wow, it really feels like buildings in there. Very nice. Okay. And I jumped. I should have done Cynthia Lopez, excuse me. Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, there you go. All right. All right, good looking shapes, layout, very nice. Great looking sky. All this is great. If you want to, for some of the whites, I might, this is totally up to you, but yeah, let's, if you want to smack a couple of whites on some buildings, actually it might look really good. And it's very possible that he might have come back over a lot of these and smacked his whites. There's the green, right? But for some of these buildings, really, I could see some extremely light stuff on there. But that would give a little pop. So, and then your really darks like this, go really dark in here. It's really dark. I'm just wanting to pop. That's all I'm doing is popping this thing. Okay. Anything that's just look at where the darkest darks are and smack them. I even see a little sliver of something down here, right on the road. And then, yeah, even out here, it gets even a bit brighter. I don't know if it's pure white, but it's pretty bright. I'd look for that. And then what else? Maybe even in here, a couple pieces of light. You let it slip through. But it'll shock it. It'll give it a little bit more jump. And I do that in every painting. Oftentimes I'll look at a painting. I call it keeping it in the middle. So I'll go out painting and I'll deliberately keep it in the middle as long as I can, and then I'll smack a dark and smack some light, and it's so satisfying. It's like, oh, there we go. It's jumping now. So that's what I would do. And then this looks on the red side. So if you care to, because the value is dead on, so you're fine. But if you wanted to, I would go in the blue gray family, kind of. And might be too dark, but oh well. I'm just trying to gray it down. So in the blue gray family, in there, kind of like this, yeah, and maybe a bit darker. Any questions or comments?
No,
Okay.
I mean, yeah, the shapes are, it's more abstract.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think the picture is a lot less contrasty than the actual painting that I have. So
yeah. Maybe let it sit for a while and then come back to it.
Yeah.
Give a little pop. Won't take very long at all, I'm sure. Okay,
thank you.
thank you. You're worth it. All right, Daphne. Now that's got a lot of contrast. Maybe in the back here a little too much. I don't know if the house jumps that much off there. Some of these are, you can easily just take off a little bit of light on the top there, no problem. These are about right though. It gets very contrasty.
I'm not sure I got the perspective though. It doesn't recede in the distance the way, the depth I don't feel like comes through.
Well, I know he gets really skinny in here, and then it actually gets a little bit wider. Let me make that line a little bit thinner. So it starts and gets a little wider, and then it turns this corner. This actually does go straight up. Like, I think he meant that too. Straight up. So yeah, if you want that convergence, these will get a little bit wider as they come at us.
Okay.
And so, but see, once you go up a hill, now you're going to a different vanishing point. And this must be a very steep hill to have a shadow like this on there. So, which is indicative of the area up there. By the way, LA has some crazy hills too. They don't make a big deal out of it, but they've got some nutsy hills around here. So anyway, I think, in general, you got a lot of great stuff going on in this. Beiges are looking perfect. Greens, maybe a little more saturated up in here.
Which area more saturated?
Let me show. Yeah.
I couldn't quite see where your arrow was.
No, it's too skinny. Let me draw a little bit bigger here. Yeah. Up in these areas, just more yellowy green up in here. Whoops, wrong green. Like a more yellowy. And just
Okay.
keep this nice and dull like that back there, and you'll get lots of this depth out of it.
Okay.
Yeah. This is fine. And then if you want to get into some of the intricacies in the buildings, that's up to you. You got a lot of good looking abstraction in there already, so.
It was a little hard for my hand to do all those intricacies.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Well, then I would say consider in your hand excellent work. Yeah.
It was fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
I when you sent
Thank
that a
you.
couple days ago, I thought, oh, it's going to be way too hard for me. I can't do it. But then look.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
thank you.
Just piece it together. Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much,
All right.
Daphne. And there's Henry. Ooh, Henry. Very abstract, very colorful, really exaggerating all the colors. Yeah. Yeah, definitely more abstract. Let's see here. And yeah, you're getting a lot of pop right here. Really pushing the purple, pushing the kind of orange and the beige here. And then back here, see, I'm definitely feeling that the colors are more subdued, and then up here, much more saturated, giving us the distance. You see everybody how he saves the contrast down here, and then and then back here, not as much contrast. I mean, there's contrast, but not as much as up here, and that's how you get the distance, the depth. Interesting, getting a lot of nice texture in there too. Right. Yep. But you're getting a lot of nice little variations in your colors. I like these little blues, dragged over these violets, dragged over these deep burgundy colors. Yeah. I mean, in general, I could see maybe this one right here and this one right here a little bit lighter, just so they, yeah, I think you're cool enough right here. And yeah, I'm just thinking a little bit lighter, so then if you keep your contrast up here in your middle ground a little bit lighter, and then these nice and light back here, you'll right, exactly, right. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, right here. He really pops black in there. Yeah, he definitely gets real. Yeah. And he did so many of these kinds of paintings too. They're just, I mean, I think he must have painted every day. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can feel intellectual thought, and you can feel art change, the art of the period. You can feel it change in his artwork. One artist. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. All right. Any questions or anything, or all right. Yeah. Okay. Well, beautiful. Thank you, Henry. Nice work. And there's Cynthia again. Oops. Oh, here, there's Henry. There's Helen. Oh, let me get this out of here. All right, Helen. Still got a ways to go, huh? But you got some nice looking shapes out there.
Thanks.
Yeah, I know it's a little mosaic-y and kind of picky.
Mhm. It's interesting though, really is.
Pick it
First,
apart,
I
yeah.
didn't really like it, when I saw it, and then I go, wow, it's always happens to me when I get into it. I end up really loving the painting and
It
appreciating.
does. It's kind of like getting to know art, getting to know an artist. I
Mhm.
can't tell you how many artists, even when I was in school, I can remember, we had art history and we'd go to a museum and I'd look at an artist and I'd just be like, what is this?
Yeah,
I don't want to look at this. This isn't exciting to me. And then you get into it and you study the movement, see what they're all about. And then you really get in and you maybe even try to copy it and suddenly, wow, you're like, I'm literally being influenced by this person. And
Yeah.
now I like them.
It is really interesting how that happens, huh?
Yeah. You just have to give yourself a little bit of time, consideration. So
Robert, thanks for choosing him. I never would have known about him. So it's, I've seen his before in museums and so I really appreciate him more now. So thank you.
Yeah, he's a really important artist.
Mhm.
So, okay. Thank you, Helen. I call him a transitionary artist because you can see art transform. I can't imagine being an artist back then thinking, where do we go from here? Especially in that time. All right, well, this one's laying out really nice. You've got some serious, you got a lot of pop and contrast. Look at the blacks in here. You got the whites in here. Did you drag a little white over this?
No,
Oh,
I just use some dry brush
okay.
in the end,
Yeah, it's really well
but
done.
I leave the white paper a lot.
Yeah. You got a lot of pop. You got some nice blue up in here. You could even touch a little violet. This could maybe be a little bit bluer.
Blue, right.
So then, if you want to get darker, if you want to get bluer, that could mean it's darker. So then maybe you'll want to add a little touch of white to it.
Okay.
That's something to think about. And then this is all great. Any more detail that you want to put in there, this is fine. Yeah. And some of the shadows too, when they go across the walls, especially on a white wall, will tend to be bluish.
How?
I would think about things like that.
Okay, blue.
And you could either change it or just think about it, but it's just something to think. Now, I love these lines. You're definitely seeing how he sees these little pathways.
Yeah, try copy. Yes, some
they're jumping
with here.
Yeah, they're popping. I don't know if they pop this much, but they really, what you could do is just take a little bit
less
for the white. For the light on there, you could always just rub out a little bit and just leave
it. To tone down the darkness.
It's really well done, and you really grasp the idea of the abstract mosaicness of it. So
thank you for the opportunity and different style. Just like you said in the beginning, so not very exciting. I thought the one work on getting to understand what's the concept behind. So we'll start find the feeling.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Ellen. And I'm sorry, there's Hector. Ooh, Hector, look at that. Kind of a very organic way. Now if you look at some of his early abstraction, he gets extremely organic. But this particular painting is very architecturally, some people call it architectural, or geometric. So, I mean, I think all your colors looking really good. I would just, that's my main criticism, is that I could see more geometry in it. Let's see. So some of these shapes I could see possibly, you know, casting a shadow, and probably bluer than that, but really seeing it very flat and geometric. And this one's fine. Very nicely done. I mean, I really like your values are just smoking. Colors are smoking. You're not one to, I mean, you usually do organic things. I hardly ever see any straights in your work. So is this not attractive to you with all the straights, or what do you think?
It's just not me,
Yeah, I understand.
but I appreciate him.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
you're organic. You're this. Yeah.
It's just something you can't, I can't do something that is not me.
Right.
But I start off, and then as I keep going, it gets more organic.
I could still say this. I still would call this an ode to Diebenkorn, because it still feels. I mean, I'm looking at it even small here.
Yeah,
Still has the feeling.
It's further away. It's
Oh yeah, look at that thing coming together. Wow.
And that's what I was after.
Nice shadows
I
back
could
in
see.
too.
I could see that it's okay. I'm not trying to duplicate every line.
Right.
I'm not trying to duplicate the line, but it was inspiring.
Yeah.
To do one of his paintings in my way.
Whoops. Sorry.
It's all right.
There you go.
What I see in everybody else's work is their drawings were terrific. All the rest of the students.
Yeah.
And then they got into it, and it as they were putting the paint in, the colors.
Yeah.
They were able to be more expressive.
Yeah.
Than when they try and do a regular painting. I saw more expressive in there. It's funny. It's interesting. It's like Helen said too. You don't appreciate it until you start doing it, and then you realize, oh my God.
Right. There's a lot going on in there. Yeah. All right.
Okay, thank you.
You are welcome. Thank you. That's the way it is with these artists. There's Mitsuko. Very, very geometric. Here we go. Oh yeah. Yeah, you really got the geometry going on in here. And great looking values. Wow. I mean, really, most of your colors are dead on. I mean, I would just say maybe these are a little black, a little dark on the background here.
More?
I think they're a little on the dark side. These.
Yes, that's I used to me. And this whole thing is not a watercolor, it's gouache.
It's gouache, yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of white in it. But
Right.
your colors are actually closer to his. Yeah.
Yeah, I try to,
I could see these a little bit more blue to blue violet up in here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just a touch bluer. If you add a little, especially with gouache, it'd be very, very simple to change that.
Okay.
I just kind of wash a little bit of kind of violet, so the gray comes through. That's all.
Violet. Okay.
Yeah, violet. So I mean, I can't really make a blue violet here, but I can
Mhm.
try here, something like that. Let me try a little bit more blue on it. Yeah, and then you know, I could see a little bit more blue in that shadow in there as well.
In the shadow.
But I mean, look at great looking values. Wow, look at that pop. So yeah, you really got the Diebenkorn thing.
Oh, great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little bit, it's like Hector, I'm not really into his style, but it's a lot
Right.
to learn. It's a lot of learning that I can get this from.
Yeah, when he gets very straight, I mean violent. Like remember he said he likes to violate the canvas. I mean some of these violent straights on his work. Yeah. So hey,
I
everybody's
like
got their
his
style.
abstract. Yeah.
And Wayne Thiebaud does the same thing. They're very much into the city when he does it. But even when Thiebaud does, I'm sorry, even when Diebenkorn does people, he hits a lot of straights in them too. So we are, we're a little bit more organic than that, but that's fine. Interesting to look at. Okay. Thank you very much, Mitsuko.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And George, we're getting it there. Anybody else?
Almost.
Anyone else as well? Okay.
Yes,
So-
one more.
Ooh, look at these colors. Now I'd say you definitely took the colors. You took a lot of liberties with the colors, but it's quite beautiful.
That's mine, I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who am I looking at
That's
here?
Serena.
Yeah, Serena. Yeah. So you went really violet with that.
It's gouache.
Yeah.
I haven't used gouache before. It was kind of fun.
Yeah,
It's
it is.
challenging.
It covers. Yeah. It will dry very different though, huh?
Yeah, it did.
Here's the weird thing about gouache. When you put it on thin, it might dry too dark. No, and that depends. If you have white in the paint and you use it thin, it'll dry dark. If you have no white in the paint and use it like watercolor, it'll dry light.
Okay.
Use it thick, depending how much white you have in the paint, but generally it will dry darker. So it's just
It dries darker. Okay, that's good to know.
well, it does.
I'm noticing that with the violet road.
Yeah. Anyway, gorgeous looking colors. I love all this stuff in here. I know there's some black almost that he gets in there. Like right in here or something. I don't know. Really dark. I don't know if it's here or oh wait, there's your red roof up there. But anyway, it's this, huh?
Darker there. Okay.
There's somewhere where just look, it's about the darkest dark in the piece right around here. So I would look for that. All right. I mean, it pops though. And I love these color comparisons. I mean, they're, like I say, they're not exactly what he's doing, but at the same time, do they work? Yeah, they're beautiful.
Well, what was he working in, oil?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to get that layered look that oil painters and acrylic painters get. Where you can see all the layers of color underneath with the brush, kind of brushy strokes.
Gouache is an excellent medium to get that oilish look. A lot of oil painters like to do the little compositional paintings in gouache as opposed to watercolor, because the watercolor has more of its own very transparent look, and they're doing a very opaque thing. They would rather use the gouache.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty common. Yeah, and you may even want to go thicker with the gouache, really nice and thick, so you can really opaque, and then it acts very much like oil.
Okay,
Just as an experiment. So
okay,
anyway, nice looking work.
thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Serena. And we've got Kim.
I'm sorry. Rob, you skipped me.
Did I skip you? Oh, there's Teresa. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Sorry, thank you.
Ooh, wow. Look at those shapes. Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, you caught it dead on. Of course, excellent drawing as usual. And your values are great.
Thank you.
Your values are great. Great color. You got the real mosaic-y quality. I mean, let's see. You pretty much cut everything he does beautifully.
Thank you. I hope I could did last straight line.
I love the way you did this beige here. You put it in there. You gave it little green touches, little red touches. That's great.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I feel peaceful when I was painting.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's good. It's a very good copy. It's a great one for your portfolio. Sketchbook. Another one to, put in the library, in the little library in your head. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Beautiful. There's Gay. All right, Gay. Wow. That looks like a Diebenkorn. Jeez. Are you sure you didn't just grab one of his books and tear a page out of it?
No, but I really liked this painting, and that's why I'm behind. I want to spend my time on the buildings there on the left.
I can see you really give it you really got into this one and gave it some thought. And the reason I can tell is because you're getting into a lot of his textures. Are you using a little gouache in here or a little white?
I have a little white gouache in there, yes.
Yeah, because you're getting a lot of these overlapping type textures that he gets, which are wonderful. And right, yeah. So a little more finished, fine. But you're definitely, your values and shapes are dead on. Yeah, I would definitely finish this. Take the time and however long it takes. Doesn't even have to be done today or anything. But I mean, I personally like when I get into a mode, I try to get as much as I can out of it while I'm painting. But sometimes you got to take a rest. So, but this is excellent. And man, look at this. You got this nice vivid green up in here, and then you really feel how this feels further away because you add a little more blue gray to that. Yeah. Just a little more duller, little white, a little bit of green, but it just feels less saturated back there. That's great. Your yellows could probably be a little bit less saturated too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're a little too bright.
Keep these ones, but yeah, knock those. All right. I mean, this is a great study. Remember this little cast shadow over this front part too. I mean, maybe you just haven't got, you probably haven't got to that yet, but whatever. Okay.
Alrighty, thank you.
Yeah. And thank you for asking us about the golden sectional. Did I say the golden sexual square? That's funny. The golden sectional square.
The golden ratio, right?
Yeah, golden white rate. We'll just call it that. I always called it the golden sectional square. I don't know. That's what we were taught.
Oh, okay.
George, did you mail it?
It's coming. It's coming.
Okay.
Am I the last?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I don't think you've done me. It's
Oh,
Kim.
Kim. There you go. Kim Richardson. Wow. Geesh. That pops. I mean, you are finished. That's nice. I love the over again. Breaking the white in there, the gouache. Yeah. That all these little overlapping things that he does. Definitely. You got all that. Great work. I mean, what do you think?
I thought it was really fun.
I was going to say, this looks like you really got into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but I understand. It's just it's the internet, you know.
Yeah, no, I
There you
wasn't
go.
saying anything.
Yeah, I mean, right away, this thing just pops. Really great depth, really great perspective. And it looks like you desaturated this back here a little bit more. If anything, maybe a little more. You know, see how you like desaturated the top of this? I can see little touches of more. And keep this nice and saturated up here. Beautiful. That thing just jumps. You really got the Diebenkorn look in this thing. If you wanted to do your own sort of Diebenkorn inspired thing, I would paint it using your techniques just like this. So that is a great copy.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Jump in there. Okay. Whoops. There you go, George. Wow, George. What do you think? Study of Cityscape #1. I like these values. They're popping.
Oh, good.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely jumps. Maybe this right here is a little black.
Okay.
The shadow. I mean, I would save that for this dark in here. Maybe compare the two and you'll see that this could be a little bit more like this.
All right.
Just make sure we're muted.
This is a smooth paper, so it really dries fast. But it was good for putting the color blushes down.
Yeah. And then this one is a little dark. I know this one was very dark, so I would leave that. But you'll see if you compare the two. This one should be a little bit lighter. So these are a little bit lighter, and so is this. And right, you got a little bit bluer green, but you a lot bluer green back here. But that you're really pushing the dynamic there, but it definitely recedes. Absolutely.
Okay, good.
He kind of had a grayer
blue. Yeah, I had trouble getting that together right at the end.
Just take a little gray and add it to it. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, if you feel like it.
I could, yeah.
And then
the street got a little blue too.
you see how this, because you got a little light on the street here, it feels more connected. I might add a little bit more blue to your shadow.
Okay.
And you know, which means you'll have to maybe rub it out or add a little white to the blue. But what Kim was doing by adding a little bit of white to her color, it gives you another opportunity to get texture.
Yeah.
So that's another
Maybe
way.
I'll just do a gray wash to the whole thing and see how it dries.
Well, I don't know about that.
No. Okay.
No, it's not that saturated.
Well, the road's too blue though.
Well, I would say this should be bluer. Oh, you mean over this? You mean this? Oh.
I meant a whole gray wash that would darken the shadow and the road too.
Oh, I could see you doing that. Sure, yeah. I might take this shadow too over here, over this part of the brown.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, just so it feels like
Yeah.
I don't know. And I know this is pretty bright, the sidewalk or whatever it is down there, but I might just glaze a little bit of shadow over that. Maybe, you know, just so it's not as bright as some of these whites. Let's say maybe right here that are very bright.
Okay, I couldn't figure out what that was. I thought it was going up the side of the building, but you're calling it the sidewalk, huh?
Maybe, yeah. I mean, he's not drawing it absolutely perfectly or anything, so I'm just assuming it's a walkway to a sidewalk here. All right.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right.
Okay. Lisa. Hey, Lisa, what'd you think of this? Looks like you got into it. You there today? Let's see. All right. So what I would do is, so a lot of your sidewalk is as bright as it is over here in the light.
Right.
I would take a little glaze over. I know there's some light hitting in here, so I would glaze some of that down
Okay.
so it feels like it's a little more in shadow.
Yes.
And then even on the grass, I know he does bring, but I would probably
Right, not as bright. Yeah, it's darker, much darker.
he gets that kind of yellow, like a little shot of yellow through there.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Just a quick glaze. Just a quick glaze.
Yeah, that's what I'm still working on. So I'll do that. Yeah. It's hard to get it all done sometimes.
Yeah, I understand. And then the other, I think this one comes over. Oh, that's this, huh? Okay, that's this. All right, that's fine. And I definitely, this is great how you got this one
Oh, good.
more subdued, and these, yeah, you're done. That's great.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was fun. Something
not
else.
easy to do either. Yeah.
No, no, thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, well, if I might not be in class next week, but I'll see. I'll be in Florida, but we'll see. Wait,
Sunny Florida, huh?
yeah, 85 there, so it'll be
Yeah.
quite a change. Yeah, yeah. So I'll see if I have time to do a class.
Get a tan.
Yeah, that would be nice, huh?
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D, you got it.
Good.
Need that. Oh,
Okay, Lisa.
Thank you, Brom. Okay.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Bye-bye. And let's see. Whoops. What did I miss anyone else? Okay. Hey, do you guys want to do Hopper next week? I mean, I heard some people say that.
Yeah.
I'd love that.
I'd love
Yeah.
How
about, do you want a figure in there, like a lady looking out the window or something, or a lady with a wall, or do you want
You choose.
Okay.
Interesting. Yes. Figure.
Yeah.
I have a
He has
quick
these-
question about the Diebenkorn is, I'm noticing I'm seeing other people's work, they achieve the perspective, the feeling of that road going back and over a hill.
Yeah, it's this.
Okay.
It's see, he takes you down the road this way, and then he takes you straight up the hill more this way.
Okay.
But this is more dramatic, and it's almost straight up here, but he does get a little bit of perspective on that hill, but it's a very sharp uphill here. So there's not a lot of this going on, you know.
Okay.
So that's the main thing they got. Yeah. So if you want to, all you need to do is, what you could do is just take a little white in your paint and just widen out your road here a little bit, or if it's already white here, then take a little green and taper in your road here a little bit, and you'll probably get it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure. it's not easy, as hard as you might think. So,
Is next week the last class of
oh boy, let's see.
masters?
Got next week. Yeah, next week's the last week, you guys. I have the new ones coming up. They should be up any day now, maybe even today. So I haven't looked yet. So, oh no, they can't be up right away because I haven't okayed them yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Have a
Thank
great day.
you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Very
Fantastic.
interesting.
All right. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Well, at least I see you waving. All right. Bye. Bye, Henry.